VIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and let's talk about Tokusatsu, Power Rangers, Kamen Rider, and Super Sentai, and when they explore, well, inceldom. They're not in the way you expected, especially since Asian media and media inspired and adapted by Asian lore tends to be very unique in how different they are, and how similar, too. I don't like to talk about this, but fandoms are not representative of every average fan of a certain media property, and there are toxic vocal individuals in each one that make that perception of everyone involved sharing similar beliefs, when the truth is more complicated than what most people like to believe, which leads also into entitlement. No, I'm not saying anyone involved in these communities are by default, though I need to explain what incel is. Incel is a term associated with an online subculture of mostly male, but not always, and straight, people who see themselves as unable to find a romantic or sexual partner despite desiring one, and they often blame, objectify, or see women or the other gender as a source of their problems. However, I'm approaching this from the entitlement fact, as in those who feel entitled to a person of the gender they're attracted to. But just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with someone who wants romantic or sexual love or experience if you're asexual. The only problem is only seeing and treating a desirable person like an object, which I know most of you would not do or would not want anyone to do to you. Besides, some incels self-proclaim themselves, and femcels exist too. So for this video, we're looking at 4 examples from Toku that explored the toxic and entitled side of incel behavior, and asked the question, how do these Tokusatsu shows explore these topics, or tackle these topics? If you made it this far, type Gotchard is great in the comments below, partially because it makes some people angry, and let's get started! Starting with American Super Sentai, since Power Rangers is what most people are familiar with, Wild Force is seen at worst a decent season, though his reputation wasn't seen in a positive light in the beginning. That being said, I think the villains were seen as the more appreciated side of it because of Master Org. See, God Ranger had rotating antagonists, not too different from how Boom Boomger did their laps, but the leaders were a mixed bag. With Power Rangers, they had a human antagonist take the lead, with the generals either working alongside or against him in Dr. Victor Adler. As you know, Adler started as a decent human being, an ecologist, and was a friend of Richard and Elizabeth Evans, who were the parents of the future Wild Force Red Ranger, Cole Evans. He had secret feelings for the latter, but kept it to himself, working with them to find the Animaria and gain enough funds to start the expedition. However, when he was ready to propose to Elizabeth, he found the hard way Richard proposed to her already, and they were already dating. So then he learned Elizabeth became pregnant with Cole, and during the press conference, he was left out of the spotlight for the expedition. With rage his friend stole, and I use stole loosely, his only chance of love, family, and fame, Victor consumed seeds and remnants of the original Master Org during the Animaria expedition, causing him to mutate into a powerful Org. With that rage, he killed his colleagues in cold blood, tried to murder Cole as a baby, and decided to destroy the human race with his resentment. He felt betrayed and decided to betray the world in response. Dark. Now, massive respect to Wild Force's writers, because this wasn't included in God Ranger at all. They made this their own, which massive respects. Just for the record, Victor I don't think was born evil, but he was blinded by entitlement and lack of foresight. He never bothered to learn to marry Elizabeth or, just date her in the first place, or search for a healthy avenue to affect his alienation, expressed feeling undercredited, and either way, it wasn't an excuse to slaughter 2 people who did nothing wrong and who accepted him or targeted humanity for his rage when there were healthy avenues to take long before this. And he's a warning for how you shouldn't let your resentment lead you to take actions that satisfy yourself at the cost of someone else, or in Wild Force's cases, someone else's life. So, here's a question. Does Tsuyoshi Kijino count as an incel? The answer is no, personally, but he's got elements of it. So for those of you who don't know, Kijino is a 33-year-old salaryman, think of office work, and dedicates himself to his wife, Miho, who he's been married to for a year. He's weak-willed, complains, not good in battle, and his dedication to Miho's happiness and his own slowly starts to disturbingly become selfish and self-destructive because his reliance on her makes her seen as the only good thing he has in his life, resulting in him becoming toxically dependent on her. Now, to be fair, when the show has Miho motivate him to try his best, there's genuine signs that he just needs the confidence to improve, but that dependency costs him a lot. For example, there's a time a monster of the week kidnapped his wife, and though she managed to free herself, he let the villains kill him off. Now, without context, you're probably thinking, why is that a bad thing? But if you watched it, you know how it operates. If the heroes defeat a monster, the corrupted human returns to normal. If the villains defeat the monster, the human is digitized and killed with only 2 ways to resurrect them. He essentially let the villains kill a human, and when honestly, had he just let Taro defeat him, he could have gotten the opportunity to beat the crap out of the kidnapper himself, and then watch as he went to prison. It also doesn't help that his wife isn't a human. She's a Juto, a bestial. Long story short, bestials are creatures from Red and Gold's clan that take an original person's appearance and trap the host in the forest of slumber, while the Juto take on their memories to weave their personalities. And his wife stole the appearance of the Black Ranger's girlfriend, Natsumi. And when said Black Ranger in Tsubasa found out, granted he could have been less blunt about it, but we see Tsuyoshi treating Miho as a possession instead of an individual, lashing out at anyone and anything that even talks to her. He's got Tsubasa arrested, refused to let Miho leave when she pretended to act like Natsumi's consciousness returned, also almost killed Tsunoi when trying to kill Tsubasa, and thankfully his bloodlust turned to horror that he was almost responsible for her death. And he only accepts the truth about Miho's condition when the one person who can't lie confirms this, and it takes until the 4th to last episode for him to accept he was being duped. Now, when you compare himself to Tsubasa, despite starting off and seeming more hostile, is genuinely heroic in helping others in spite of his situation. He lost his girlfriend, but he tries to be reasonable, and while he makes mistakes, those come from genuine misinformation, and when he messes up, he tries to take accountability. But in terms of Tsuyoshi, I don't necessarily think he's an incel. The final episodes have him recognize he's made some mistakes and quits his job, accepting his marriage was a hoax, and meeting Natsumi, who resonated with the memories her doppelganger had with him to have a new start. I don't think the intention was to have him be absolved of his actions, but in comparison to Alder, I think this was more of a lesson of having to learn the price of entitlement and being blind to your desires. The message may have been, and this is only from my interpretation, so if you disagree, feel free to disagree in the comments. If Tsuyoshi grew past the flaws, he could soar to become the more confident and well-meaning hero he always wanted to be deep down. So I wouldn't call him an incel, more so an exploration of how incel mentality can lead someone down a path of destruction, self-destruction especially, and how only you can make the choice to become a better person. Moving on to Kamen Rider, I want to talk about 2 examples from 2 shows with different tones. And the first one is Hiroki Makase, aka the Pixie Zodiarts, or Pisces Zodiarts. In 2 episodes, we see him present himself as a self-absorbed dork with a crush on Yuki, who's given her letters, gifts, emails, and voicemails for God knows how long. So he was obsessed with her and had an unrecruited crush, right? Oh no. He tries to kill her when she doesn't accept his feelings instead of realizing he's creepily obsessed with her, deciding she deserves to suffer for it. He made a deal with Yuki to find the locker that led to the secret base if she agreed to be his girlfriend and leave her friends, and out of being petty, he blew up a fake locker to make her cry and think he separated her from her best friends for shits and giggles and called her damaged goods. Like, Kengo is breaking down in tears about not wanting to die alone on the moon at that time and thinking everyone betrayed him. And Yuki's breaking down for blaming herself and he sees it as something she deserves because she says no. Like, what on earth? And if you think, okay, he's just entitled because of a crush, it gets worse. He had a star map with the names and pictures of all the pretty girls in Anamanagawa High he thinks are really cute, that he's personally stalked for a roster of at least 20 other teenagers, then tries to trap them on a school bus and send them crashing off an unfinished road. Like, this was the only time Gintaro did not try to befriend someone at the beginning, and holy crap did they make it a valid reason as to why. Oh, he returned. And did he get nicer when he returned? Kinda. The girls make it clear he's not forgiven, and I'm pretty sure one of the subs call him a misogynist, or the enemy of all women. Though it was a bit of a missed opportunity. Everyone was rightfully suspicious he was the Aquarius Zodiarts at the astronaut test, but they don't do much with him there too either. If he really wanted to prove he changed, or the writers really wanted to go further with this, they could have made him a suspect of being the Aquarius Zodiarts and have him chosen to help the club prove that he did change. It would actually explain why he's in the movie, because in that movie, he's one of the people willing to help activate the astral switches to power up Fourze and Meteor. And since the movie takes place before episode 40, and that was in episode 37 and 38, we could have actually seen him apologize again and probably buried the hatchet with the club. The novel sequel actually explores this to some extent, Makase ends up joining the prom committee with Sumire Taira, the daughter of a family who made a donation to be a luxury liner. And she's very shy. She hated herself and she hates how her father basically pretends like he cares about her when he really doesn't. And Makase pointed out people tried to take advantage of her without Sumire realizing this. But Icarus took advantage of his self-loathing to have him join her, Sumire, and 2 others into forming the Zodiacs necessary to create the Argo Zodiacs, which I believe is Puppis, Canis, Keel, and Karina, with Pisces helping stabilize it as the Argo Zodiacs. So after being freed from his influence as he was doubting himself and his actions, Makase admitted feeling weak and useless, realizing he shouldn't only enjoy things that benefit him, and stop acting tough to properly change himself. And he and Sumire found each other as dance partners. I wouldn't call it a perfect redemption, but with Makase, he actually took some effort to let his hatred go and actually make a friend who he could also help with their issues. It's a shame we didn't get to see too much of it on screen, but he really showed why incel mentality is downright dangerous and left unchecked. And at least it was fun reading about how he was able to actually sort of break out of that to some extent. Now, let's move on to the one that actually inspired this video. And I know people are going to want me to bring up Kusaka and Gremlin, and I will sort of at the end, but Karia generally pisses me off. Like, no hate to this actor, he played the role well. But we're introduced to this guy in episode 3, calling Renee, who, mind you, is a 16 to 17-year-old high schooler, and he is out here calling her his type. And every time we see her, he's obsessed with her, calling her his woman. Then it's revealed he's a submarine amalgam, and remember, chemis only get influenced to merge with a human and become amalgam based on human malice. This man continued to stalk Renee undetected and submerge under the ground to follow and stalk her around until Hotaro defeated the salaryman that wanted to go around killing people. Then he shows up, ambushes Hotaro and Minato to get to Renee, and is approaching her like, "Dive into my embrace. Mister, you are a grown man stalking a teenager." And then Valvarad thankfully shoots him down before whooping him with Valvarad. Okay, he's just a monster of the week, right? Oh no, it turns out it's worse. We get his full name, Karya Mamoru. Yeah, Mamoru means to protect, and yeah, honestly, everyone should be protecting themselves from him. Clodo got him out of prison, and I'm pretty sure she was disgusted by him too. And no, it turns out he wasn't just stalking Renee back in episode 3. They confirm he grew obsessed with multiple women before ruthlessly taking their lives. So, let's get this perfectly clear. He was going to murder a 17-year-old that he treated as nothing more as a sex object for no other reason because he wanted to. And he was just going to treat her as another prize to kill when he was done with her? Oh, I wish Majade and Hotaro Double Rider kicked him together in episode 44 because holy hell is this man a freaking psychopath. And I know what you're thinking. Aren't Kusaka and Gremlin worse? Okay, fair. I get that. But here's the difference. Kusaka was at least motivated by Mari because of what happened with the Ryusei school event, and he saw her as at least someone and something that made his life had meaning. And while he's controlling, at least he tried to protect her, or be the only one in that case. And Gremlin at least was a normal person. Before that, he only targeted women like his girlfriend because his girlfriend breaking up with him led him to becoming his first victim. Both of them are incel coded, and both of those are actions that I cannot justify. But at the very least, he understands. We, at least as the audience, understands what led them to the action. Even Makase realized he was just a horny, entitled brat of a teenager. But Karya? Karya is a grown man pimp trying to add any girl he wants to his collection because he can, wants to see, and sees women as a trophy because he wants to. And that's worse. Because there are people in real life who actually have no motivation and want to intentionally screw over anyone else because they can. And that's what an entitled incel truly is. Someone who thinks they're entitled to another person's body and life with no consideration for who they are as a human being. Maybe that's why some Kamen Rider fans hate Gotchard. Some people realize the show was pointing out that being negative was a bad thing. So, what was the moral takeaway of this video? Well, I can appreciate all of Tokusatsu exploring it because it shows the dangers when it comes to entitlement and the avenue someone could either use to escape that, or in Gotchard and Wild Force's case, why that mentality is dangerous and toxic in the first place. But there's another reason I made this video. Lately, and I'll talk about this before the month ends, but we've seen way too many real-life cases of people being attacked, murdered, and hurt because they were on the giving or receiving ends of rejection. And though I have female followers, I also have more male followers, so this message goes out to all of you guys. We are all deserving of love, but not love that isn't reciprocated or that you have to force someone to enjoy. Rejections are tough, are really tough, but we don't have to only use anger or violence towards others as a means to cope with that. There will be other people to befriend and interact with, other job opportunities, and yes, opportunities for love with someone that value you for you. So never feel entitled to someone, because no one should get hurt for saying no, and we don't need to sacrifice their happiness for our own. Anyway, let me know your thoughts below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and you all have a good night. BIP Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.